Hello my friends, welcome to a new video. Today I will do a follow-up on the TrakRacer TRX. The video consists out of two parts. The first part will be a bit addressing the concerns that I had with the review of the TRX, and the second part will be the review of the integrated display stand, the seat, everything of peripherals that I have for the seat. There were two issues that really stood out during my review of the TRX. The first one was the installation process. I ran into quite a few problems with bolts not lining up properly and some connecting pieces being a very tight fit. As a result, the build took me roughly 3 times longer than the normal assembly time. While this didn't bother me much once the cockpit was finished, it was honestly one of the more frustrating builds I've done. After looking online, I noticed similar complaints from other users. TrakRacer did reach out to me about this, as it was a known issue that has since been resolved. Unfortunately for this review, I received the unit from the first production batch. According to TrakRacer, this problem has been addressed in later batches. The second issue I experienced was some flex in the pedal base during use. This was also a known issue that TrakRacer has reportedly fixed also in the newer revisions of the TRX. I haven't personally tested the updated version, so I can't say exactly what was changed, but I was assured by TrakRacer's founder that the improvement is significant. Based on my previous experiences with the brand, I don't have a reason to doubt that. If you own a TRX and have had any issues yourself, feel free to share them in the comments. In total, there are 6 different add-ons that I have tested for the TRX. And the most crucial one, I think, and I also said this in the review, is the wheelbase plate itself. Because when you buy the TRX standard, it will include the option to mount side-mounted wheelbases like a Fanatec wheelbase. Not the old CSL DDs, because that one only has a bottom mounting, if I recall correct. So this is one of the add-ons that you really need to look at. If you have Moza, for example, the R9 and R5 and stuff like that, a Camus or any other wheelbase, Logitech for example, Thrustmaster, they all have the mounting at the bottom. So this universal wheelbase plate, it comes in at €35, but this is a must if you have one of those wheelbases that does not have side mounting. This was definitely one of those wait what moments when reading the manual, and it did cost me some extra time during installation. Once everything was mounted though, it became clear just how much adjustment range this wheelbase plate offers. One small remark here: since the TRX is TrakRacer's flagship tubular cockpit, it might be worth exploring a slightly more refined adjustment system, similar to what we see with the seat configuration. Another add-on is the integrated monitor stand. Comes in at €99. It's very decent, I think, for systems like this. I would really recommend it to have it integrated, because you already have quite a large cockpit, and if you have the monitor stand integrated into it, well, you don't need as much room as you would have with an extra monitor stand, a separate one. It supports screen up to 70 inches and offers VESA compatibility for 75, 100, 200, 300 and 400 mm patterns. One thing worth mentioning is viewing distance. For some people, the screen may end up sitting a bit too far away. In GT mode, my screen was about 86 cm from my eyes, which already felt quite distant. And in Formula mode, that distance increased to roughly 98 centimeters. Height adjustment itself is perfectly fine in both modes, but the height cannot be adjusted on the fly. This means that switching between GT and Formula seating positions may require some extra time to reconfigure the monitor height properly. What I really like about the cockpit stand is that you can make a very tidy setup also with the cables, so you can just use the center of the stand to guide all your cables through, and it looks really nice and clean. Another addition would be the shifter mount. TrakRacer offers this for €49, and for this you get a really solid shifter mount. You can use it on the right and on the left of the cockpit. It is very easy to mount also. It's not rocket science, fortunately. The only remark, there are two remarks that I have for this. The first one is that you cannot regulate it in height. So the configuration in height is not possible. The second one would be that for shifters like the Thrustmaster TH8S, that the back piece of the plate, so where you have the plate which comes on a support, but it is fixed into place and you only have like a very small amount of plate left to attach a clamp. With the TH8S, which has a clamping system which needs to be screwed on from the bottom, it was not possible to attach it to this shifter holder. On the other hand, with the Turtle Beach shifter that I have here, there was no issue. That one, it has a smaller surface to clamp, but it also can be tightened from above, and this is the system which it works on. Of course, most of you will attach your shifter by mounting it with bolts onto the plate, so that won't be that much of an issue. However, I think it would be a nice addition that this top plate would be able to slide forwards or backwards a bit, just like the bottom plate does. There is, however, the option to adjust the angle of the shifter mount in 3 different positions. Overall, the shifter mount feels more sophisticated but less configurable compared to what you get with an aluminium profile rig. That said, once positioned correctly, it does its job well and offers no real issues in terms of usability. Without doubt, the add-on that made me most happy with this sim rig are the caster wheels. They come in at €39 for the caster wheels. You get 6 of them. Installation was a bit difficult because I didn't find any manual, but Michael, how hard can it be just to screw in some wheels? And I can tell you, it's not the screwing in part that is the difficult part, but it is choosing the holes which was difficult, because you get 6 wheels. I found 6 holes in the middle, the back and the front, so I just bolted them in. But then I saw that I had like this, I don't know what it's called, a jigsaw, something that you, like, kids play on it, that goes like that. I had this on the sim rig. So you can mount 4 wheels on the front and on the back of the TRX. The wheels themselves, well, they are very decent quality. They roll really well. They feel stable also, and they are equipped with a brake, so you have a brake on the 4 wheels and it stays into place really nice. One thing to keep in mind is that the wheels are made from a fairly hard rubber plastic. Normally the TRX rests on 6 rubber feet that help dampen noise and vibration. If you're running a bass shaker with the caster wheels installed, I'd recommend placing an extra mat underneath the rig to reduce vibration transfer. That said, for the price, these wheels offer excellent value and perform very well compared to the competition. I had, for example, before this, a system of GT Omega caster wheels there, which you needed to turn to make it go up a bit to rest on rubber feet, but this was not, this was a shitty system. It costed me €90 and it never really worked well. So these wheels, €39, and the brake, it can be operated by just your foot. You can just pull it up, push it up and push it down to put the brake on. So very good addition, and especially this cockpit, it weighs a lot, so 89 kilos I think. You will be glad that you can move it with the wheels. Another add-on I tested is the harness, since I've only used the harness once before, and that was quite a long time ago on the Next Level Racing GT track. It's honestly difficult for me to compare this one properly. Installation was very straightforward and didn't pose any issues. So TrakRacer brings out a seat harness for €49, and well, you really feel like a proper driver with it on, but I sometimes ask myself the question, when are you going too far with your hobby? I mean, it's not that you can go around Of course, if you have a motion system, it is different. They look nice, and actually, well, they feel nice also. Very comfortable, and you feel very snug into your seat, but it's just not my cup of tea, I think. They look like giant suspenders. What is important is that they are very easy to adjust. So I think the system itself, it is very thought through. It's genuinely hard to judge how it stacks up against competing harness systems. What I can say is that it feels solid, the locking mechanism is reassuring, it doesn't dig into my shoulders, and it's easy to adjust. The finish and color also look good. You can pair it with the belt tensioner system mounted at the rear of the TRX, but that's something I personally won't be testing. It reminds me just a bit too much of a Final Destination scenario. A final add-on, and arguably one of the most essential for any sim rig, is the GT Hybrid seat. It's essentially a stylish bucket seat with generous padding that gives it a bit more of a premium look and feel. Whether it's real leather or faux leather, I'll leave open for interpretation, but it certainly looks good and feels high quality. The seat has a slightly more curved shape than a traditional bucket seat, making it better suited for hybrid racing. The padding is attached with Velcro, allowing you to reposition it for additional back support and a snugger fit. The bottom cushion is 4 cm thick and very comfortable. Also, because of the removable padding, it never felt claustrophobic in the seat. It should also work well for drivers with a larger build. Design-wise, it strikes a nice balance, classy without being overly flashy. That said, it does come at a price. At €379, it's a significant investment on top of the TRX frame itself. Tubular cockpits generally don't offer a huge range of add-ons, but the TRX ecosystem is actually quite well developed. While I'm not personally sold on every accessory, like the shifter mount or the harness, it's clear that all of them are solidly built and competitively priced. Every add-on has its place, but if there's one I would wholeheartedly recommend, it's the caster wheels. They make repositioning the rig, adjusting your setup, and even cleaning underneath it dramatically easier. Thank you all for watching. I hope you had something from this video. Leave a like if you did, subscribe if you want to see more videos. When you buy new hardware, don't forget to go via an affiliate link. That way you can give a donation to a content creator without any extra cost to yourself. Thank you all and have a nice evening. Bye bye.